Thank you. Hey,
Yeah, for
Spider, how
sure.
you going, mate? Thank you very much
Is
for
that a
joining
Dropkick-
me. We
Is that
have
a
Jim.
Dropkick Murphy shirt?
That is certainly a
He-
Dropkick Murphy.
He does.
We were just chatting about that. The season upon us was have to be one of my favorite Chrissy tracks, man.
Well, it's
That's awesome.
that's I'm a Boston boy, so they're a Boston band, so you know.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
another reason I chucked this on as well, man.
There you
Nice.
go. I mean, I haven't lived in Boston since 1997, but I will forever be a fucking masshole. That's what they call it. If you're from Massachusetts, you're called a masshole. So I will
Massholes.
Yeah.
So, Powerman 5000, man. You recently you're about to hit Australia, man. You've done 10 studio albums with Powerman 5000. Excuse me with my intro. Sold over 1 million copies of Tonight the Stars Revolt as well, man.
Nice.
You're about to hit Australian shores, man. You did reschedule this tour because COVID kind of fucking knocked everything back a little bit, man. So it's really great to see you hit Aussie shores, and I believe it is for the first time, is it?
Yeah, first time. Yeah.
No kidding.
It's hard to say
Wow.
after 30 years to have something be the first time, but it is for sure.
Yeah, really,
Wow.
really excited to get over this way, man, because I know as a fan of you guys I've had this CD since it first come out, dude. I don't know. I've lost most of my CD collection, but for some reason I've managed to hold this one. It must be great to kind of not only get over here in Australia, but also to play this album with over 1 million copies as well to the fans, but also some of the other fucking hits you guys have as well, because I've got your entire collection as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's, look, I've lost track of how many albums. You say 10, I'll take your word for
more.
it.
I think there was a couple more prior, the demo and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, I think certainly Tonight the Stars Revolt is probably, well, for sure what we're most well known for. But we've managed to, it's easy to fall into sort of a heritage act, if you kind of only rely on that old stuff. But we've always managed to, we're always playing new stuff in the set list. We always mix it up over the years. And, I'm always pleasantly surprised whenever we play, at least in the States. I don't know what it will be like over in Australia, but like how many young kids come to see this band, No doubt. And it's cool, man. I guess the internet is the great equalizer. Kids find something and it just seems new to them. And, I look out and these like 13, 14-year-old kids. I'm like, how the fuck do you even know who this band is? But they figure it out, man. So it's cool to try to do that. Try to stay, try to keep the new material flowing as well as obviously play that old stuff too.
Well, you have been bringing out albums, I think, almost every 3 years or something like that, pretty consistently since kind of that first one, the Blood Splat rating system. Not to mention the couple that kind of came before those, the demos and the other one, man. How do you retain that? Because you're really busy. How do you retain that motivation and focus?
Yeah, I mean, I always think about there's a saying about what's the secret to a long marriage, and it's don't get divorced. And that's kind of what what it is with the band. You just keep doing it, man. You just stay with it. And I mean, I think from the beginning, I always thought whatever record we make, I'm like, that's the last one. We're never making another one. Mm-hmm. That's it. We're done. And then here we are 30 years later, and I'm still saying that, this next one will be the last one. But as long as it's still fun, man, and it's still, there's some, creative instinct and creative juices flowing, I'll just keep in until I can't physically do it anymore. I don't see any reason to stop.
No.
And just when you think you're out of ideas, you get some weird thought, some song riff or a song title, and then you're off to the races again, making another album,
Yeah, well,
and each record. Oh, sorry.
You go, Jim. Please go.
I did it again. Sorry, man. No, I was gonna say each record you've done has been different than the last. Noble Rot, I feel there's a lot of I don't not to compare you to something else, but it was almost like New Order meets really catchy heavy riffs. And
you're right. I mean I think if there's one thing that our fans can expect is that it will never be the same thing twice,
No.
I mean, there are things that tie them all together, and of course my vocal will always, be the glue, I guess, of everything. But yeah, the last record we released, I guess it was the single, was this song called Black Lipstick, and I was like, man, I was like, this is the one that they're gonna hate. The fans are gonna fucking hate this because it
No.
sounded like
Awesome.
Peter Mercury or something. And we got more positive feedback. Like people love that fucking song, And I was like, oh, cool. So I feel like we got to the point where we're allowed to, or at least it's accepted that we are going to never repeat ourselves to, and I think, that's just the way I do it. I mean, I think it's okay too if you're a band and you have a very if I started a band and I sounded like AC/DC or the Ramones, I probably wouldn't change a fucking thing either, right? Like it's like you just nailed this amazing formula. But for me, I feel like the key is to always be playing around with different sounds, and because that was the spirit of the band to begin with. That's why we started it, because everybody involved in the band in the original lineup had such different influences, and we could never agree on anything. So we just decided, well, fuck it, let's just throw it all in the pile, and it'll be metal, punk, rap, funk, whatever.
Everything.
Yeah, and we tried to create something that made sense out of all those different influences, and that's still what we do today.
That's brilliant.
That's awesome. Definitely. And with all of it, you mix in, like, as you were, the art side of it and the visual elements with the music. It's not just the music, you're mixing in a visual aspect to it as well, and that's something you've always done just amazing. Probably comes back to art school a little bit as well, but also seems to be that you're that way inclined as well, visually, aesthetics.
Yeah, I mean, that part of it has always been just as important, if not, I don't want to say more important than the music, but yeah, for me, I don't really consider myself a musician, right? Like but I grew up loving music and art and painting and drawing and in film and TV, and all this, the visual aspect was almost at the forefront for me. So I never really understood bands that just wrote their songs and then hired artists and photographers and people or how do I dress? I don't know, put this jacket on, and like,
right.
For me, it was like, for me, it was the opposite. It was like, I wanted to create this whole vibe, this whole culture around the band, and where put our pop culture influences on our sleeve, and like say, this is the shit we love too, and we hope you love it, and so yeah, that's always been a big part of what we do. Sorry if you hear noise. I think my gardener's here. Like,
yeah, it's all good. I've got my cockatiels going in the background. Spider, it's like 7 past 9 in the morning, man. They tend to go kind of out this time of morning as well over here.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So man, what was it like making this album? Did you foresee yourself, back when you did drop this album, because you're about to tour on it, so I'm talking a little bit more about this one. But did you see yourself still going this many years later, 22 odd years later, still cranking out Powerman 5000? And do you feel like the way with the platforms the way are now, people, you can kind of do your own thing, be a little bit more independent, drop these film clips and not have a record label control fucking who you are, but still get the music out to people as well?
Yeah. No, I mean, I never expected this thing to go more than 6 months, honestly. Like, I just, like I said, every album's the last one in my mind. But, Tonight the Stars Revolt in particular was interesting because it was our second major label record. The first one was sort of a re-release of our first independent album, and it did okay, and it was, it wasn't a hit album, the first one, by any means. It was, it got us a little bit of a fan base. And then we made Tonight the Stars Revolt, and I wanted to just go full for it because we finally got a little bit of money. We could make videos that had some budget. So that's when I was like, well, I want to make this crazy sci-fi, epic, and make these videos that are like mini movies. And I remember at the time our A&R guy at the label who signed us was so angry at me for going down this road. I remember, true story. So he calls me and he's like, come into my office at the record label. So I come and he's like, sit down. I'm like, fuck, what did I do? He goes, what? I want you to watch this. And he puts on, I think it was a Deftones video. And like the video had like guys like skateboarding. And he's like, this is what you need to be doing. Skateboarding, baggy pants, chain wallets. You know, I'm like, what? I'm like, well, I was like, yeah, but they're doing it and they're doing it pretty fucking good. So maybe I want to do this. He's like, oh, and I just remember this whole path of this album, and we'd be doing photo shoots in our weird fucking space get-ups, and all the label reps would be in the back of the room just like shaking their head like, what a fucking idiot.
It made you unique though. That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't think they were worried, and probably rightfully so, that this was never going to translate to anybody. And honestly, I didn't think it would either, and I didn't really care, you know, because you're young and you don't give a fuck. You're like, whatever. I just knew it was something I wanted to do. And we finished the record, and they were, even musically, they were like, yeah, we don't hear anything on this record. No, there are no singles. There's no. I'm like, we're like, really? It sounds pretty good to us. And they were just like, yeah, it's crap, you know. But then a very fortunate thing happened with us, that they submitted When Worlds Collide, the song, to a radio programmers convention or something in LA. I don't remember what it was. And at the end of the convention, all the radio programmers all across the states voted their favorite song of the convention. And they voted When Worlds Collide as their favorite song. And then suddenly we were geniuses, and it was amazing, and put more spacesuits on and do it, you know, and it was like, then we were off to the races, and we had success with that record. But up until that moment, I think they were ready to just throw it.
Wow.
Honestly. But that's a common story for most bands. You know, most bands are like, their biggest hit is the song that they were told was terrible, and so from that moment on, I learned a very valuable lesson: is just do whatever you want to do. Like, do your own thing, man. If you're not happy, no one's going to be happy. So from then on, we just always just did whatever we felt like doing, whether we thought people were going to like it or not.
They just didn't see the vision that you had, you know what I mean? And sometimes I suppose it would have been very fucking annoying working with some of these record label people that just didn't see the real vision of what was going on. It was just, well, let's make some quick money out of it. It's a lot different.
Right. But to their credit, and it was a great time on that label, that they did let us do what we wanted to do, and they gave us a lot of money to do those things. And so I've always forever grateful that they did. They could have just stopped it. They could have just said, no, you're not doing this. But they did. Even though they didn't see it, they let us do it. And so for that, you know, but looking back, I'm like, yeah, I get how this seemed like a terrible idea. Like, you know, but hey, it was also a very strange time in music. It was 1999, and there was a lot of like really unique bands with unique images, and I think if there was a time that it was going to work, it was going to be right then, you know.
Yeah,
because people were really open to whether it was us or Marilyn Manson or Slipknot, or, you know, there was all this like really crazy visual stuff happening, which you don't see a lot. Well, I guess there are bands doing it now, but I feel like rock has become more, at least in America, like just more like almost like the rock scene in America is more like heavy country music. You know, it's like, it's very music-based. You know what I mean? It's very like very like by the numbers. Whereas I feel like Europe is a little more adventurous in the music
You've got your Merciful Fate and your Avatar that are doing stuff that's just nuts. And
like more out there, for sure. But
you were actually I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, my fault. No, you were actually my first real rock concert there.
Oh yeah, where was that?
Summer Sanitarium, Baltimore, Maryland.
Well, that's a big show to see.
It was crazy.
That was Metallica, Korn, Kid Rock, us, and crazy System of a Down was the opening band. Now they were as bigger than any of them.
You were second. It was System, and you guys were on right after that. And like to this day, brother, you guys are awesome. You put on one of the greatest shows. You start out with, of course, the quote from Malachi Throne. How did you get Malachi Throne on?
If anybody doesn't know, he does the voiceover stuff on
A Star Is Upon You.
Well, so we were in the studio, and This is weird how when the universe works in these ways. So we're making the record, and I was like, oh, I want to make it more cinematic. I want to find a voiceover actor to come in and lay down this intro thing,
Yeah.
And so Mike Tempesta, who was in the band at the time playing guitar, he's like, oh, my friend's dad does that. I was like, oh, cool. Who is he? And I kid you not, at the time we're in the lounge of the recording studio, Sunset
Yeah.
Sound in LA, and on the TV is an episode from the original Star Trek playing.
Yes.
And so the moment I say, well, who's your friend's dad? And he goes, oh, that's him there. And he was in an episode of Star Trek. And I was like, holy fuck, like, could this make any more sense? So I'm like, well, can we get him? And he's like, let me call. And he came down and did it, and he was awesome. And yeah, he was just character actor. He was on a bunch of episodes of Star Trek and the old
Yes.
Batman series with Adam West, and a whole bunch of stuff. And just crazy, that's just crazy when things are happening like that. Then you're onto something cool.
It's so cool. And then he did that, and he did Watch the Skies for me. And
yeah, he did a few different things. We just had him come in and read, and I remember it was very intimidating for me and Sylvia Massey, who was producing the record, because he was just, he's an older
Awesome.
guy, and he was very
Right.
serious. And I'm just this fucking dopey kid, and I'm like telling him how to read it, and he's in the recording booth. We're in the the mix room, and so I'm like, oh, try this. And he's like, well, let me ask you this: is the character, is he chiding us? Is he chiding us? And me and Sylvia hit the mute button. We're like, what's chiding me? Like, we're like, I don't know what the fucking. And I was like, yeah, I think he's chiding him a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little chiding. Let's throw that in there. Yeah, it was crazy, but he killed it.
Oh, it's so cool.
And we still use that. We still use that intro live today. His voice gets played every single live show that we play.
Well, it's iconic. Like, people know what's coming. You know what I mean? And it's funny. He holds up a CD. I have the original cassette I bought when it came.
Oh,
I do. my cousin and I, he introduced me actually to you guys, and he was like, you got to check this out, dude. And because we watched all those old sci-fi and horror movies, and he was like, dude, it's like it has influences of that. And we were in love from the start. So this is
awesome.
So cool.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and you guys are flat out touring. You start Australia, you hit Australian shores January 12th. You're playing Brisbane, Sydney,
Nice.
Melbourne. Then you got 6 days off. You got anything planned to do here in Australia, or are you just going to kick back?
It's crazy. We're going out there for 5 shows, and we're there for 2 weeks. I don't know what we're doing. I guess it's up to the promoter to.
Yeah, get the promoter to show you around, man. You haven't been here.
Yeah, I'm sure they have some.
There's a whole stack of things you want to do.
Absolutely.
We'll be hugging some koala bears along the way someplace, and whatever you do when you go to Australia, right?
Yeah, definitely. Then you're also, I've got Alborn, one of the guys from Alborn said you're on tour with them spring 2023. So they're also label mates with Jim. He's in a band called Lenne, and he's on the same label with them as well, dude. So which is
awesome
cool.
Dudes, man. Yeah. They are incredible.
Right.
That's gonna be a great run.
Yeah, we've got I think that's in March. March
yes,
to do the States. And then we'll probably be doing something for the summer. I mean, it's just, it never stops. It's just like we don't really work in the old days. You do what was called an album cycle. You put your album out, then you tour for this, and then you go. We're just constantly like go on the road for a month, stay home for a month, go on the road for, we're just always playing somewhere sometime.
Well, you notice it, wouldn't you, compared to when you first come in with the first couple of albums to now, what the music scene and industry is like? I suppose you could sell albums before. Now people tend to go down this fucking digital streaming all the time and less likely to grab whole albums as well. So touring is a big part of the band as well.
Yeah, I think for a band like us, it's the lifeblood of the band. We're not going to stream, enough on Spotify to matter. There's no, unless you're, I guess, the top of the top of the top, Drake or Post Malone or something, you're not streaming is not a source of income for
No.
Right.
probably any rock band other than maybe Metallica or something. But
Indeed.
so you play live, and it's funny how as much as things change, it just all comes full circle back to when you started a band and you had nothing, and it was just you and your band and a couple crew guys, and you went on the road and you played and fucking hawked some t-shirts and and book a couple rooms at the Holiday Inn. I mean, it's kind of always been that, and will always continue to be that, no matter how much technology changes with music distribution. I feel like that's because it's the one thing so far that hasn't been able to be replicated,
Right.
by technology. So if you want that experience, there's only one way to get it, and
Yeah.
Right.
so keep doing it.
And it's really important for fans to get along and buy tickets to these shows early, especially for bands like yourself coming over to Australia or doing these big tours, to get along and buy these tickets and really support these bands as well. And not only that, buy merch, buy albums, because it does go to supporting the bands.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I think that, and I think people do. I think there is a love for the, I was wondering, like, after COVID and being off the road for a couple of years, it was weird. Like, we went back and I was like, well, I wonder what this is going to be like if people were
Right.
going to be like, I don't need that anymore. And at least for us as a band, when we went out, I found more enthusiasm, and the shows have been more fun and crazier than they were before. And I think so. I'm hoping that meant that people really learn to appreciate what it's like to get in a room of a few hundred sweaty people and just, fucking rock out. So, yeah. So I found the experience to be really positive after the whole COVID lockdown.
Awesome. And it would be remiss for me not to mention the latest film, man. You're also quite
Was about to say,
good
yeah.
filmmaker, Allegoria, man. I know
You
we haven't
found
got a lot of
time to make a movie.
Yeah, dude. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, thanks to COVID, that was why I made the movie. I was, sitting at home, and there didn't seem to be any end in sight to getting back on the road. And so I was like, well, fuck, I'm going crazy, man. I got to like do something creative here. And, I've always had a huge interest in film and television. And I was like, maybe this is the window, man. Maybe this is the way to figure out how to do this weird little horror movie with limited cast and limited locations and crew, and create this thing. And that's what I did. I just self-financed this thing, and through blood, sweat, and tears, we produced it and made this movie, and it and ended up on Shudder, which is a streaming service, a horror streaming service, and it's on VOD and Blu-ray and all this stuff. And it's an amazing experience. And since I've already shot another movie, which will be out next year, so
Nice.
now it's become my second job, hopefully anyway. Because
Very
when
cool.
I can't get back, when I'm 90 and can't get on stage, hopefully I can still direct a movie.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you, because you had done, and then you did that series Death Valley as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
Death Valley, it was a TV show that aired on MTV for one season, and that was a horror comedy. And that was, an amazing experience too. And it was also it felt like anything I ever accomplished in my life is stuff I'm just 100% not qualified for, but I seem to figure out a way to make it happen. Like music, like I wouldn't know anything about music other than I liked music. I was like, I want to have a band, so I figured it out. And with Death Valley was the same thing. I was like, I want to have a TV show, and
Nice.
I started buying books about like how to have a TV show, and it was just like I start reading them, and I'm just throw them in the trash because I'm like, I can't do this. I can't go this route. So it just ended up like shooting this weird little test thing, little demo, version of the show for $500. And long story short, it got to MTV, and they were like, yeah, let's go, let's make this show. And so that was a crash course that really helped me in producing and directing and writing movies, because as a producer on Death Valley, I got to have hands on in every department, whether it was writing or wardrobe or working with the actors or casting the show. So I got like a crash course in everything. So it kind of gave me the confidence to be able to dive into this movie thing.
Yeah, definitely,
That's
man.
awesome.
What was so? How was that whole process jumping into? Because I can see, like, as we're talking about the visual aesthetics always being big for you, but was this kind of like your directorial debut with this movie, or?
Yeah, I mean, other than directing some music videos, this was
Yep.
definitely like my first time having to, be the guy, be the
Yeah.
director, so it was a challenge. It was really fun. I mean, I really enjoy it. And it's good because music is, there aren't too many new surprises that are going to hit me in music, after this many shows and this many albums. It's like I kind of know what I'm in for all the time, but making movies, it's a whole new world and it's a whole new set of
Mm.
challenges, and it's nerve-wracking, and it's, we screen it's like I joke like, yeah, I can play a show like Summer Sanitarium, step on stage in front of 60,000 people and not even be nervous. But we screened Allegoria for like 100 people in LA, and I was like sweating bullets, like so nervous, like, because it's all new, it's a new experience. So,
Sure.
but that you got to have that in life to stay motivated,
Yeah,
No
definitely.
doubt.
And Shudder's the best place to catch that one as well.
Yeah, for sure. Or VOD, I think you can
Cool.
go Amazon or wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're a couple of days
Cool.
away from Christmas, Spider One. I'd really do appreciate you joining us for a chat about not only the tour, but the latest movie, Allegoria, which everyone needs to go check out as well. And, everybody grab tickets to the tour. Highlights for
please do.
2022, man. What's some big highlights for you as the year rounds up?
What's the what? Say,
Tell
you
us about
kinda-
a couple of highlights for you through this year, man.
Oh, I mean, I think the movie stuff has been a huge highlight for me. Just to being able to accomplish what we have, making 2 movies in 1 year, it was huge, and actually in having it be released in a way where people can watch it has been, for me this year, that like it's kind of the biggest deal. And I'm just really excited about next year, and putting a new Powerman record out and making another movie, and just keep going, man. I think that, like, I feel like I'm a late bloomer, like I feel like at this point in life, sometimes people are like, well, I'm kind of slowing down. I feel like for me, it's like, no, man, I'm just figuring this shit out. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's do as much as we can.
I was
That's
going to
awesome.
mention that it's almost 3 years since the last one, man. So the next Powerman 5,000 album will be coming out next year, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we're pretty much done with it. I just got to mix it. And, so I think, yeah, probably I don't know. We don't have a release date, but definitely 2023. So, yeah, we seem to be on this 3-year schedule for records. I don't know why it takes so long, but it does.
Yeah, I definitely find that too. As I've been getting older, I've definitely been getting a hell of a lot more motivated. Back in my 20s, and I think I was a lot more slacker and fucking lazier and not as much motivated. I think we start realizing time is running short as well.
Time moves faster the older you get. You remember when you're a little kid and one day could seem like a year. You just, but when the older you get, you're like, man, 10 years just went by like that, so got to get motivated.
Definitely. Jim, would you
Sure.
like to chuck anything else in before we sign out, mate?
No, this is awesome, man. No, we're looking forward to seeing you guys on the road and everything. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing. You've got 2 huge fans here, man. Appreciate you taking your time and talking to us.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm sure we'll see you out there on the road.
Awesome, mate. I will catch you down under over here in Adelaide, South Australia. Everybody grab your tickets, sell this fucker out. Powerman 5,000, Spider One. Cheers for joining.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.